Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Dennis, and I want to explain to you what it is I do as a channeling facilitator. I'd like to explain a little too about how I go about it. So to relate that story, I think I need to set it up with a little of the backstory here. This all started for me back in July of 2018. I was working with a client who was exploring past lives. And in so doing, the way she started reporting things, using the plural, using certain words, it kind of triggered in my mind that this wasn't an ordinary past life regression as a hypnotist might do it. This was something different. And I was prompted, I guess, to ask, are we channeling? And the answer came back, yes, we are. So that immediately prompted me to ask questions like, well, who are you and why are you here? Where are you from? And things like that. So July 2018, I established the first time in which I assisted somebody to become a channeler. I think it was probably within a couple of months or so from there that 4 others came forward, and prior to the end of that year, we had 5 who were channeling rather regularly and smoothly and really very well. Since then, 40 months later, I have now 50 individuals whom I've helped to become channelers. Now, I guess I'm frequently asked the question, can anybody do this? And the answer really is almost anybody can do it. But the real question is an individual ready to do it? And that is often a little trickier. Quite often we carry, repressed or suppressed trauma and baggage and everything from early life and from past lives that can block the process. So sometimes a bit of clearing has to be done before the person is ready to channel. But once they're ready, I can say that probably in 95% of the cases, they've been successful. Now, how do I do it? Well, first of all, I'm a certified consulting hypnotist, so I can hypnotize people, and I do that to get the client deeply relaxed. And when they're in that deep, relaxed state that we call hypnosis, very similar to the state of meditation, they issue an invitation for a being to start speaking through them to me. But before they issue that invitation, I make very sure they understand that it has to be an invitation with specific criteria. The being has to be of the light. The being has to be of the 5th dimension of consciousness or higher, but not too high up. You have to remember that for channeling to take place, the being has a vibration of a certain level. The human has a lower one. And the two have to come into proximity. And if the being is way up, like an ascended master or guardians of the light, that can be a bit of a stretch. And usually you have to work your way up. So often we start with maybe a higher self, a spirit guide, or maybe a civilization that's not too far removed from humanity, such as the Palladians or the Andromedans. We ask that ideally the being have some experience channeling through humans. We ask that they have experience with the English language. And we ask that they have some knowledge of the human brain. As well, we ask for this to happen in the easiest way possible. And I spend a little time speaking to the client's ego personalities to assure them that they are safe, to assure them that their person is safe, and that their role is just to step aside and allow this to happen and be the spectator. And then I ask Archangel Michael to stand by and just ensure that only beings of the light need apply. So usually when that invitation is issued, a little time goes by. It's been as high, I think the record is 42 minutes, when not much happens. Sometimes there's a little body twitching, a little change in facial muscles, things like that. But when I think somebody's present, I begin to ask questions. Sometimes nothing happens at that point, but I do have a few techniques that, along with the client, we can employ and sort of tease the being to come through. Now, when they do come through, I like to start a conversation and try to keep it going fluently. I usually begin by simple questions that they can answer with 1 or 2 words, like, are you here? Are you spirit or physical? Where are you from? And it can advance into why are you here? And more complex sentences, I guess, are involved. Anyway, initially it's a little bumpy, but with practice, it smooths out and becomes more fluent. Even in the first session, I usually ask for the being to report from their side how, on a percentage basis, solid is the connection. So they might say, well, it's about 20% of what it could be. And that's usually pretty good for a first start. And often by the end of that first conversation, the 20% is growing to maybe 25, possibly 30. But with subsequent practice sessions, it gets better and better. So the beings have always advised practice. Don't have high expectations for it, just baby steps. Sometimes they say things like meditate, that's very important. Drink more water. And sometimes they recommend a dietary change or something involving exercise. So all of these things help. Now, of the 50 that I have dealt with, 16 of them can be found on my website. They have chosen to take this talent to the public. They engage in talks and personal counseling. I would say there's probably another half dozen that I'm working with who will likely bring this to the public. So that may be 20 people out of 50. So yeah, maybe a third to 40% or so are going to take this to the public where they're engaging with humanity, delivering messages that are uplifting, love-based, helpful, healing, hopeful, all that good stuff. I want to point out, though, that if you choose not to take it to the public, there are still many benefits. The channeler is going to get what you might call a vibrational upgrade. You know, their consciousness is going to expand. They're going to be aware of more. They'll probably find themselves a little more fluent and a little quicker to answer certain things. I have an example, one woman who does not want to be known as a channeler at all has a job where she does some public speaking and some personal counseling. And in both instances, she says she's just a whole lot smarter, that things are more helpful than, you know, she thought she could have come up with on her own. She's just sometimes very pleasantly surprised at what she has to say. So regardless of how you use it, there are benefits. Now, there's a little more on this on my website. And if you're curious, have a look. The URL is www.peterhdennis.com. There's 2 N's in Dennis. And if you have questions, you can direct them to me by email. That's peter@peterhdennis.com. So thanks for watching. And don't hesitate to tell others about this. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. And many blessings to you. Bye for now.